Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Tech Talks with NASSCOM Insights. I am Naman Kishore, lead Community and Insights Marketing at NASSCOM, and I'll be your host for the day. Web 3.0 is currently one of the most trending topics in the technology arena. The internet evolution, driven by technologies such as blockchain, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, has been gaining immense attention from venture capitals and technology investing companies. Interestingly, number of startups have come forth working on various Web 3.0 related technologies and decentralized applications which could redefine the internet as we know today and shift the data control from big platforms to the users. Looking at the Indian market, India has emerged as the third largest ecosystem for startups globally, and with a 7x increase in the total funding of startups and number of incubators since 2015. Therefore, India is being considered as a natural frontrunner for Web 3.0 startups. With that said, this session would focus on Web 3.0, the Indian startup landscape and its contribution. Joining me today are three very special guests from the Web 3.0 domain. Joining me first is Ajay, who is the co-founder of DLT Labs and an early pioneer of blockchain technology for enterprises. He actively promotes blockchain technologies and other open source technologies by running numerous blockchain labs across colleges and universities. He can often be seen talking about Ethereum, blockchain, cryptocurrency, Hyperledger Fabric, and emerging technologies. Welcome, Ajay.
Thanks, Naman. Thanks for having me here.
Our second guest for today is Nilabdhi Samantray, Associate Vice President and Head of Data Science and AI, as well as Leader for New and Emerging Technologies at CSM Technologies. An IIM Bangalore alumni, Nilabdhi comes with 20 years of leadership experience in big data analytics, data science, and other emerging technologies that include IoT, AR/VR, geospatial technologies, cloud computing, RPA, and blockchain, among others. Welcome, Nilabdhi.
Thank you, Naman. Hello, everyone.
And our third panelist for the day is Rashi Sharma. Rashi is a research professional with 11 years of experience in IT and consulting industry with past experiences including stints with Gartner and EY. In her current role at NASSCOM, she is the part of NASSCOM Insights team and focuses on emerging technologies such as Web 3.0 space. Welcome, Rashi.
Thanks, you, Naman. Thank you.
So the first part of our discussion revolves around the key emerging technologies in the Web 3.0 and Indian startup market. So I would like to bring in Ajay on this question here and focus a little bit on what are the key technologies that are vital for Web 3.0 revolution. Of course, we will be talking about the semantic web, blockchain apps, advanced AI, and ML. So Ajay, if you want to share some light around these points, and then in the same continuation, Nilabdhi, I would probably reach out to you after Ajay concludes.
So I see technologies or key technologies in two particular fashion and two particular way. One is at the conceptualization layer, which is why Web 3.0 is getting so much touted and talked about, and the value proposition it is trying to bring about. So one of those very touted things are decentralization, trust, or calling it trustless and permissionless layer, which is making it solve certain issues and problems which are there in Web 2.0 and trying to take a next leap or trying to reinvent how businesses and how people interact on web, how people transact on web. And at times I also feel that instead of calling it as an upgrade over Web 2.0, it's actually reimagining how the web should work with decentralization, trustless, permissionless in picture, removing the middleman and bringing in actual value add propositions into our day-to-day functions and into our day-to-day businesses, whether from consumer side or from the enterprise and businesses. The other key technology element, if you talk about technology part, then blockchain is one of the other big piece. ML, IoT is again one of the very big piece because it's all start from onset of data and interaction of various stakeholders with underlying data. So I will pass on to Nilabdhi to add more things on to what I've spoken and add other value to it.
Yeah, thanks, Ajay. Thanks for giving the brief. So I think one thing we have to understand a slight difference between Web 3.0 and Web 3 as such, what we said. So I think sometimes there is some confusion around it. So when we say 3.0, predominantly we are talking about the semantic web. And when we say Web 3, it is more like a decentralized 3D immersive internet that we are talking about. But more or less, Web 3 is an evolution of 3.0. So we can use it synonymously, and that's how we will call out the different technologies that we would be surrounding around Web 3.0. So I think, as already said by Ajay, blockchain technology is one of the key foundational technologies of 3.0 because this supports peer-to-peer transactions, communications, elimination of any authorities or gatekeepers that we talk about, typically that we call as FANG or say Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google, who are predominantly the owner of the data that currently we generate. And that's what is going to be dismantled by 3.0. So blockchain, of course, and there is AI, ML, a lot of artificial intelligence and machine learning that we are talking about, which will predominantly do the semantic web concept and natural language processing through this. Then there is a lot of Internet of Things from a technology perspective, because we're talking about a lot of machine-to-machine talk that's going to happen. It's not just the user base, but also machine-to-machine and the algorithms around it. And there are a few more technology and concepts that will come into play as part of the 3.0 revolution. That is things like the cryptocurrency, decentralized apps, smart contracts, edge computing, of course, the metaverse, which is the big thing today, and NFTs or non-fungible tokens. So these are the kind of technologies what we are going to see as vital to 3.0 revolution. Over to you, Naman.
Absolutely. So if I have to put it in a nutshell, Ajay and Nilabdhi, so I can probably say that, Web 3.0 is probably the third generation of the internet, and in which, the data will be interconnected in a decentralized way, which is, a huge leap forward from our current generation of internet, Web 2.0. And if I have to put it in the form of a salient features, I could probably say that decentralization, number one. Number two could be trustless and permissionless. Connectivity and semantic web. So that's something which, how we can probably put it in a nutshell.
Right. That's right.
Right. I want to stick to the same thing of the emerging technologies, and I want to get Rashi into this discussion because Rashi, you are also working in an upcoming research report from NASSCOM, which caters to Web 3.0 space. And you are focusing on the Indian startup market. So any thoughts from you how the Indian startup market is actually responding to Web 3.0? What are the trends that you might have noticed in this? I think it will be nice for the audience to understand from that point of view as well.
Right. So currently, there are a lot of international funds and venture capital funds that have invested over $500 million in the Indian startup and blockchain ecosystem in the last year, which was one of the pandemic years. This means that although Web 3.0 wave is a very recent one, it has just started uncovering itself. So there is a lot of potential, and the Indian startups and the technology talent capability which the market possesses has picked up on this Web 3.0 evolution journey extremely well. And not only the international funds, but even the Indian venture capital firms are also showing immense interest in blockchain technology and Web 3.0 startups. For example, the early stage Indian VC firm, which is Antler India, has committed to invest in around 20 to 30 startups in the blockchain and Web 3.0 space in the next 2 to 3 years. And it plans to deploy around 100 to 150 million dollars in over 100 Indian startups over the next 3 years. And of this total commitment, $50 million is something they have committed only for the Web3 space. So definitely the Indian market looks really good when it comes to Web 3.0 space in terms of the talent and innovative ideas and even the funding part of it.
Okay. Okay, and I want to stick to the startups category for another question. And Ajay, this question would you're probably the right person to answer this. What are the specific product categories that these startups are focusing on? which is the most emerging category and business models that these startups would be working? And if we look at from the startup as financial services, gaming, media, entertainment, technology, retail, any points that you have, anything which is very specific that needs to be highlighted?
So see, I generally categorize at a very broad level. There are two kind of products which any startups are working on. One category of product I call as business enablers. Another category of product I call as technology enablers. Business enablers products are those kind of products which are having certain business propositions, are having certain business value add, business add-on, and it is directly available to be consumed by consumers as well as service providers. Technology enabler products are very much again important in this new emerging technology, because until unless you enable the developers, until unless you enable the people who want to build on top of it, right, it will be very difficult to keep on innovating, because every new technology solves certain problem and brings certain its own set of problem with it, right? Because it's all about, if you introducing a new technology, it's also like introducing a complexity in order to solve certain existing problem. But any new complexity which you add also add on to or creates new problem or new type of challenges with its own set. Other thing is, if we want what a startup are looking for is to scale in terms of product development which can add value, right? And ultimately it can only happen with a very close collaboration with business transformation and technology transformation. So technology transformation is very much around how we are enabling other technologies, or how we are enabling other technology company to actually work on top of it. Like if you try to see in the past how the cloud has made various startup to actually go and conduct their business, to go and conduct their innovation from where you start go, right? So similar things need to happen on this emerging space also. We at DLT Labs are also doing a lot of stuff in this particular front. We do provide business enabler product which directly caters to a business need, and as well as technology enabler products which directly caters to developers. On business enabler product side, there are various domains which are immediately captured by the emerging tech as Web3. And when I say Web3 or Web 3.0, try to understand we are still not there, right? When we say that, okay, something is getting built on, it is an iterative step, and it's something which is happening in an iterative fashion. So what people are trying to do is to take various components which are currently consumable, which have current business sprout, and start developing on top of it and providing business solution. So something which is coming very much in this particular area is solutions around supply chain, because supply chain during this pandemic has been most disrupted thing. Also, it actually affects each and everyone. So every company from their business proposition to consumers are trying to solve the problem. And ultimately, what we feel, or what is the underlying value to it, any business can only do, or any business can be only successful if they are able to seamlessly collaborate with other businesses around them, right? So everything is codependent. There can be a bigger shark and there can be a smaller fish, but everybody is codependent on each other in order to conduct businesses in the world. And at underlying principle to any business is collaboration. Underlying to collaboration is all about how effectively we are sharing information, how effectively we are in turn sharing data, which in today's world is chaotic and distributed in nature. And all these distributed data brings its own set of challenges around transparency, privacy, auditability, data integrity. And the way Web 3.0 or Web 3 is moving towards is one thing, having that data ingestion layer through users or via IoT, running ML engines on top of it via machine learning, and bringing in that permissionless trust via blockchain technology, right? So that is where the startups are trying to solve a lot of problem around domains in supply chain. Supply chain is very hot. Fintech is automatically hot. Because by default, whole blockchain technology eliminates with onvent of cryptocurrency, and it comes with its own buzz. So there is a lot of things which are happening in financial world, apart from crypto also, because people are seeing this business crop, how the current traditional financial market or how the current traditional finance can be disrupted by taking the underlying technology of blockchain, coupling it with machine learning, coupling it with more better mathematical models. So fintech, supply chain, then anything related to identity. Sovereign identity is again a very big space where a lot of companies are trying to build solution around it, because ultimately everything is an identity on Web3. Everything which interacts with the system is an identity. And if it does not become an identity, right, it becomes problematic. It has to be an identity if something is transaction, because everything is a transaction on Web3. So these are the product categories at a very broad level, which companies are looking in and trying to solve problems around it.
Rashi, you want to add something to what Ajay just mentioned?
Yes. So Ajay definitely mentioned the supply chain bit, which is definitely something where blockchain technology will play a very big part. Other than that, yes, decentralized finance is something as well, a very potential arena. Other than that, I think social media and networking, that is something which is going to build the creator economy. Will also be Web3 is going to play a very big part there. There are these digital assets, how creators can actually have their digital assets on Web 3.0, how they can share it with the world, and how they can also be share it with somebody who is actually searching for it. So that is one. Another is definitely metaverse, which has been making a lot of buzz. So these are some of the arenas and probably the categories where Indian startups are playing.
Right. So next, I want to pick up a question which is, it might seem very close to each other, but yes, there is a significant difference between the two terms. The role of metaverse in Web 3.0 and how Indian startups are working on it. And of course, when we talk about definitions or the underlying technology or the scope of application for that matter. So Rashi, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So metaverse, according to Gartner, by 2026, like 25% of people will spend at least 1 hour a day in the metaverse for all the interactive and social experiences like shopping, education, and even social media and entertainment, which means that Web 3.0 will be the main driver for metaverse, and vice versa. Metaverse will be one of the layer for providing the enhanced interactive experience to the potential Web 3.0 ecosystem. So metaverse will definitely play a significant role in Web 3.0 in terms of interactive experiences and various use cases of gaming and retail sector, which are something even the Indian startups are working on. And again, if we look at the startup aspect in India, metaverse is one of the very most growing arena. Now we have already heard about the concerts and fashion shows that being held in metaverse. Currently, there are Indian startups companies that are working on various use cases of metaverse, and with various innovative ideas that they are coming with, such as university-like platforms, gaming platform designed on Indian mythology, themes and characters, and even social food experiences. So yes, this is going to be a very big area where the startups will be definitely playing a very significant role.
Right. Ajay, you want to add something to that?
So see, there are few things which when we think about metaverse, we can think about. So I see progression of metaverse in an example which I will like to take, how it is going to come forward. Let's try to see the value prop of Google Map. Had been not smartphones, were Google Map going to be as helpful as they are? So metaverse evolution is also linked with a lot of AR, VR devices, and by default, the word is getting more hyper connective. Right now, you cannot always go from one place to another within seconds, but in order to be hyper connective, until unless we are able to build that ecosystem which actually instantaneously transforms somebody from one place to another, right? So that is where metaverse is going to play a very big part, as well as it is directly linked to all the creator economies which we are talking about, and adding a more one layer to it, play to earn economy around gaming, right? So that is where metaverse is going to prosper. uh, it is dependent upon certain other technologies such as AR and VR, how they are shaping up, how much affordable they become in order to reach that state. So it's a mix of hardware and software, which is ultimately going to take us to that place, similar to how Google Map was only realize its potential when smartphones were there. Otherwise, we would be carrying laptop, right, in in our hands while navigating through streets. So so that is where that device role is a very important play, and it is very much important to actually reach a stage where devices are there which are able to connect you in that hyper connective environment, as well as they become more affordable, and they, if they are not affordable, the adoption will not smoothen.
Right. Absolutely. I think you're spot on. And there's the devices, of course, with the platform. I think they have to be on the same page. It's a hand in glove relation, if I have to put it in simple words, simple terms. So now we move into the second segment of our discussion that focuses on scalability and commercialization of Web 3.0. And I want to start off this segment with my first question to Nilabdhi. And Nilabdhi, this question revolves around what significant shift that we can expect from Web 2.2, 2.0 to Web 3.0 in the future. And if you look at the shift that we've already seen from the early 2000 to the 2020s, was that it was, during the time of early 2000s till the 2020s, it was more platform based and information centric. But over the last 2.5 years, we've seen that this entire ecosystem or this entire space has become more user centric, more token driven, more decentralized. So what can we expect in this, and how does the timeline look like, most importantly?
So, Naman, if we look at how we have moved, I think as all of us know, Web 1.0 was more like static, and 2.0 is when we currently are in, which is more interactive. So 3.0, which is going to be future. So there is no definite trajectory that can say exactly when the Web 3.3 will follow, because it is still in development stage. But having said that, if we look at a few of the trends, like the Facebook had renamed itself as Meta in October 2021, that could well be one of the early signs that we are making the shift to 3.0, because we are already using the technologies that are going to be the part of 3.0, whether it is blockchains or it is metaverse, AI, ML, all the technology that we spoke about, it's already being implemented. The distributed ledger, the decentralization, it's already taken up the pace. The development stage is already there. So we want to put a definite time frame, maybe by some estimates and some researchers, it says it will be in the next 2 to 3 years that we can see the maturity of 3.0 coming in. But for us to be there, we will have to understand that we really need the business to participate in a truly decentralized model. And since the blockchain is the foundation for that, we should be having more matured system out there, where users won't have to worry about blockchain protocols, just like we don't have to worry about the underlying internet protocols these days, something like that. And the internet would be decentralized from the typically the tech giants that we spoke about, where in W3, where the data will be owned by the users, which is the predominant aim of where Web3 is going to take us. So to summarize, maybe it's another 2 to 3 years that we see where we will really see Web 3.0 formally getting kicked off as start of 3.0.
Right. Right. And sticking to the question of scalability and commercialization again, I want to shift my focus to Ajay once again to you on the challenges that you see when it comes to scalability and commercialization. Of course, we've all heard about the challenges in about the personal data protection, cybercrime, AI bias. There've been a lot of discussions around it. So, how do you take it when it comes to challenges, so that the entire idea of having a Web 3.0 space, which is smoothless, which is seamless. So, how do you see that?
You see, whenever a new technology comes, right, I have already told that it solves certain problem and it comes with own set of problem. Now, this particular problem which blockchain is trying to solve has introduced certain problems around scalability, has introduced or raised eyebrows around regulations. Correct. His is because at a very core, it is trying to reinvent how the web works. And when it is trying to reinvent how the web works, it is also trying to disrupt how existing businesses work. So there are two kind of challenges, or there are many kind of challenges. There are certain related to technology, and then there are certain related to regulations, and like you talked about PII information, those aspects. But we need to look at these things from two perspectives. That technology is always there to add value to the underlying business. There will be businesses who are currently running. It will take their own pace to actually reinvent themselves, either at business transformation layer or in adoption of new technology. So the technology needs to be mature. Until unless the technology is mature, businesses are not going to actually lap it up, right? Apart from getting a business or a business value add from it. So I see it in two particular ways. There is one particular, so I do not see Web3 in a same fashion for a business and then Web3 as a same fashion for directly B2C market, right? Where we are talking about public blockchain. We see that businesses have certain things which can be taken out from blockchain, which is going to add value to it, which is underlying same, because every business need to collaborate with other businesses in order to grow. And it needs to solve problem around distributed data, or it needs to solve problem around how they can maintain distributed ledger with certain level more degree of trust, which can bring in more collaboration between them. There should be a seamless flow of information. Things should be real time instead of batch. So in both the front, a lot of innovation is happening in public front, in public blockchain space, which is actually shaping up for Web3, because they need to solve the problem around scalability. Because with all these hyper connected world, the amount of transaction which are growing will be growing at an exponential pace. And there has been always concerns about how the layer one blockchain protocols will evolve. So a lot of innovations are going on. Already there are a lot of solutions which acts at layer two. Polkadot is, and then there are concerns around interoperability, right, apart from scalability. So there are a lot of open source initiatives which are getting run, like one is run by Polkadot, which is trying to solve the problem of scalability as well as interoperability with parachains. Then for enterprises, there are already solutions which are working towards catering to the problems of enterprises. A lot of innovation is done within Hyperledger Foundation. A lot of innovation are done by companies which collaborate with Hyperledger Foundation, such as DLT Labs. We have already solved a lot of scalability problems for one of our product, which is deployed for Walmart Canada, which is doing million and billion of transactions. There are million of billion of invoices already, which has been materialized on that particular platform. It is all connected to IoT devices because it has taken certain subset from blockchain and underlying Web3 interconnected with IoT, which actually makes sense for that particular enterprise. So there will be few solutions which will be customized, and we cannot apply same pattern and same template everywhere. So if we take those things into consideration and try to solve the business problem, which is coupled with technology innovation, it can happen. Commercialization is already happening in a lot of ways, that is why we are talking, and there is so much buzz about Web3. There is a lot of commercialization which is happening in NFT space also, though it has certain its own downturn. There is a lot of commercialization which is happening around DAOs, right, which is actually disrupting how the traditional businesses currently operate. When those transformation will totally take shape, or when we will reach the level, because it is still something which is an iterative thing which is happening, and every day as a technology and also on business transformation, people are learning new things, people are learning new ways, and people are getting new innovative ideas around how this new technology and amalgamation of various technology subset can actually help them out.
Right. And I want to move on to the next question, and this is sort of a step forward. So once the companies have understood the challenges, they've identified their points of scalability and commercialization, which of the industries are on its way of accelerated adoption? Nilabdhi, I think you've been active in this space, and you can probably share some of your case studies also with us, revolving around the accelerated adoption of the Web 3.0 revolution, and probably some industries that have been at the forefront of it.
So Naman, just to give you a brief about the industries who are impacted or going to get impacted by 3.0 revolution. So it would be predominantly like the on-demand transportation like Uber, because a lot of personal information is there. So that will be decentralized. Telecommunication, for example, the T-Mobile, which I think that was in news for some time. Media and entertainment as an industry, Netflix, Amazon Prime, all of them. So they are all part of the media and entertainment that gets impacted. Healthcare, of course, there is their agri-tech, and then there is mines and minerals. These are kind of different industries. And so we predominantly work in like as an example, agri-tech is where we did a lot of work. We did in mines and mineral as well. And before going that, I just want to highlight that if we typically look at insurance or banking sector, that is also going to pretty much get impacted. Because since a very long time, both insurance and banking sectors, they have, there is a lot of backlash if we look at from the people that they are more like money making entities, and the image that has to be changed with the decentralization and more adoption of blockchain that is happening as we talk. So a lot of that is happening, transparency is happening. And so this is where 3.0 comes into play. Now, what we are doing is we are transforming different industries. As I said, we are bringing in all the emerging technologies in the agri sector. For example, in a case of from my organization perspective, the agri-tech as well as the mines and mineral sector. In mines and minerals, we are bringing in emerging technologies like AI/ML, IoT devices, both for open cast and underground. We are doing a lot of geospatial technology intervention, wherein we are trying to leverage the data probes that comes in from the different machines. So we are leveraging the data that comes in from one machine, so which is consumed by another machine, and then we kind of process that, and we bring in some meaningful results out of it for both safety, preventive measures, as well as fraud detection. So these are the kind of things that we do in the mines and mineral industry. On similar lines in agri-tech also, purely from a farming perspective, we have utilized AI/ML for machine learning, as well as some satellite image processing to identify different crops, the yield, as well as if there were any kind of fraudulent declaration about how the farming is happening purely from a farmer's perspective. Because there are some benefits attached to like MSPs and others attached to what kind of paddy yield that you do. So if there is any fraudulent declaration happened from a third eye perspective, we take images of those paddy field. We process it, whether they are really paddy or it is something else or a barren piece of land, depending on the color, on the humidity and other aspects. We process those images, we come out with a declaration, and we actually have done that in Odisha, which has resulted in saving a lot of money for the state government by eliminating the fraudulent declaration that was happened. So these are two examples where we have done the emerging technology intervention, like the AI/ML, geospatial technologies, drones, artificial intelligence, and IoT devices, IIoT devices, and we have really saved government money in crores in hundreds of crores that we have saved based on these implementations.
Interesting. Rashi, you want to add to that? Maybe some of the things that you might have found in your study, then maybe the next wave of Web 3.0 transition?
Yeah, so industry to be potential adopter, other than what Nilabdhi just mentioned. So adding on to that, another potential adopter is the retail industry that might be the the potential adopter here, where we are already seeing customer experience layer being highly impacted with the advancements in augmented and virtual reality solutions, social experiences via metaverse, which is in fact diminishing the physical constraints, providing the first class interactive and personalized experience. So another is e-commerce, where Web 3.0 might re-engineer the overall online experience itself by eliminating the maybe central authority in the future and lowering the extra cost of interfacing with middlemen or like gateway services. So blockchain technology can be instrumental, way instrumental in inventory optimization, supply chain tracking, and even personalized loyalty programs for the customers. One of the very impactful example within the Indian market, experimenting with the Web 3.0 and metaverse space is Flipkart, which is an e-commerce marketplace. They launched an in-house innovative arm called Flipkart Labs, whose one of the focus area is to collaborate with the Web 3.0 community and set the standard for the commerce in the metaverse. Through the innovation arm, they are aiming to test NFTs, virtual immersive storefronts, and play to earn business models. And in future, it might also look at innovating in various areas like logistics, supply chain, and accelerating the digital commerce as well. So that's a very brilliant example that covers the Web 3.0 and the metaverse in an e-commerce space.
Right. And I think in continuation to this entire segment where we've covered the significant shift from Web 2.2 to 3.0, the scalability and commercialization, the accelerated adoption. And I think when you are talking about these many things and for an entire space or an ecosystem to develop, you need a ready, pool, talent pool for such kind of an ecosystem to exist. So Nilabdhi, I want to understand from you, how do you see the current talent pool in India for Web 3.0, the significant challenges and the opportunities associated with it?
Yeah. Like before we get into the specific technologies of the emerging technologies that is impacting 3.0, let's also have a look at where we as an IT industry stand today. I think it's the NASSCOM data which says we crossed the $200 billion revenue mark for the financial year to touch the record $227 billion. That's the kind of we can see the growth that has happened in IT industry. And as per McKinsey, it says it's expected to touch $300 to $350 billion in the next 5 years over the 10% a year growth. So this year itself, 2022, we have seen 450,000 employees being added. That is almost 500,000 to an existing 4.5 million total IT population that we have. Now, out of this, the emerging tech or emerging technologies is 1.6 million. So that is huge by any standards. And we definitely, India or the India talent pool is going to have a very large chunk of the pie. That is the way it will be emerging and implementing the Web 3.0. So India is pretty much there in the implementation of 3.0, which is currently in the development phase. Naman.
Right, well said. I think with this, I've covered both the segments and I've pretty much got answers to all the questions that I had. And it's quite an insightful session. So any concluding remarks from you, Ajay, Nilabdhi and Rashi? And I want to start with Ajay first.
So very interesting times ahead in terms of technology, in terms of how business are innovating, how business are transforming. Interesting time for businesses, interesting time for developers, and I think that we are moving in the right direction. India can take a lot of opportunity in this particular segment because we have a lot of talent pool to actually fulfill a lot of gaps which are currently there in order to make technology adopted. We have a lot of brain power to reinvent the businesses. So very interesting times ahead of us.
Right. Nilabdhi, your 2 cents to close the discussion.
Yeah, I think it was a very interesting discussion, Naman. Your points, of course, Rashi's and Ajay's. I think that all of you had excellent points. Maybe I will just take the like analogy of movies. Like if Web 1.0 was a black and white movie era and 2.0 was a color 3D era, then 3.0 is going to be the experience of metaverse or the immersive experiences. And we are already there. And we have the India, we have the talent, the skills. And we are also having a lot of startups and unicorns coming out of India. So I think this is the right time for us to get onboarded to this new journey of 3.0 revolution.
Right. Rashi, your remarks, your concluding remarks on what just Ajay and Nilabdhi said.
Yeah. So India is actually a home to, millions of gamers. So we know that it's like globally also it stands around at a position of ranks at 5th when it comes to the user base of the gamers. So definitely there is the awareness and there is this known concept of, AR, VRs and earn to play model, which can definitely lead to a brilliant talent, because of course the talent will come by the learning and learning comes by the curiosity. So I think it's a very brilliant times, as I'll just quote Ajay again, it's a brilliant times ahead for the talent, for even for the users. So there is a lot of innovation times that we can see, and I think pandemic has played a very a significant role in pushing us in having an probably warping, not if not decades but years some of the times, to come to this right now at the situation where we are, and we can see so much of interest growing in these various technologies and aspects.
Sure. Sure. Thank you. With this, we come to the end of today's discussion. Thank you so much, Ajay, Nilabdhi, and Rashi for joining us. NASSCOM Insights would like to give a special round of thanks to DLT Labs and CSM Technologies for being regular contributors to the NASSCOM community platform and also supporting in making this session happen. Until then, from everybody here at NASSCOM Insights, take care and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.
Thank you, Naman. Thanks,
Sure.
everyone.
Thank you.